Tremor, 2579 Yankee Bridge.
Yankee 2579, do you still ground tank, the kilo?
2377 on the kilo going somewhere around 597.
77, do you still ground tank, via Lima Kilo 5 and hold short of Kilo.
All right, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Mc here. Listen, is going to be your SITREP for Wednesday. It is 12/14/2022. It's about 11:45 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas. And so, without further ado, let's hop over here to our mini board, see what we've got going on. Remember, our baseline for MIL aircraft, that's all we're looking at today, MIL aircraft currently. Sitting at around 310 on screen. That's over the United States. That's going to be made up mostly Tex 2s. There's going to be 37 of those up. And T-38s, those are also trainers. So the Tex 2s and T-38s combined, you're talking 31 and 37. So it's a pretty good high number. We didn't have that yesterday because we had storms moving through, which we squeezed by on that one. I think we had 12 tornadoes here in North Texas, and they were popping off all around us here. And so we did not get hit, thank God. But it was an interesting morning, to say the least. And for December, that's kind of a crazy thing. You don't see that happen too often in December. I think the last time was around 2015. So, all right, tankers up around 30, and we'll take a closer look at our watch list right now as we kind of get into it. So, let's get over here and do that while we're talking about it. So it looks like we've got some Homeland Security sitting down there on the southern border of California. And we'll kind of zoom in a little bit. We do have those intel birds, but keep in mind, too, that's an intel training location. So those boys are running in and out of there pretty regularly. So, it is what it is there. So another Homeland Security right there closer to Del Rio. There we go. We'll zoom in on it. You can see so I can see it, actually. And then, of course, we've got a couple R-135s and E-6 that just got airborne. And another R-135. Now, this one right here, that's going to be one of your intel balloons. For some reason, it's not showing high altitude like the others. We do have two sitting up higher at about 80, 90,000 feet watching you right now. Okay. Let me get over here to the East Coast and kind of look at it from the backside here. We do have a Homeland Security over, looks to be kind of that Chicago area. And then, of course, we've got a couple of the LaSailles. We got a P-8. Now, those LaSailles are interesting. Remember, those are civilian surveillance aircraft, okay? And they've been very active over the D.C. area lately. I don't know if they're running some tests. We got 3 of them up today, which is very unusual. I normally see a onesie-twosies kind of spin around on it a little bit here. And like I said, you just don't see it very often. It's going to be those purple birds you see, at least the purple icons. Again, they are running some routes, and we'll look closer at those civilian intel birds here in a minute. But I don't know if they're doing calibration checks or if they're spying on somebody. It's kind of hard to tell, especially when you don't trust their government, right? So looks like we got more. That's going to be a NOAA bird there. Department of Commerce. So I always find that interesting that our weather birds are tied to commerce. I just don't get it. But anyway, P3 headed out over the Gulf, South Florida. Another one, P8, same thing, headed kind of southbound. You can see that 2 of those headed out that direction towards Cuba. And again, we'll get over to Europe here and take a look. It looks like all we have really, other than onesie-twosies, we've got those German Air Force intel balloons. And then we've got this E3 that looks like it's running back and forth kind of from Turkey over to kind of Constanta. So I always find it interesting that the only 2 places we see the MIL intel balloons are Germany and the United States. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? So, okay, so go black screen behind me. Let's get over to the heavies. And you'll see, disregard the blue and green sprites that are shooting up in the air there. That's just a bad feed. Looks like we got some work going on over the southern side of California there, and then over Texas. Remember, these are C-17, C-130s, so it could be doing anything over that southern area. And then we've got one that disappeared there. That's a Coast Guard bird. Went out off of the east coast of Florida, and then we kind of lost track of it there. So, and let's see. And then, of course, we've got just a litany of transports up and down the East Coast, and then up kind of over the towards the Midwest side, northeast to the Midwest side of the house. So a little more like we would normally see. Get some of those dog tags out of the way so you can see it a little better. But like I said, it is definitely lighter than it has normally been. So we seem to have all of our assets in place. So we'll continue to watch them and see if we redevelop some new trends. But right now, looking pretty light. And then again, here's more heavies. Remember, moving assets, cargo, logistics stuff, right? Personnel and cargo. Got some stuff going on there in kind of Luxembourg area. And then we've got our normal stuff kind of in the Italy range. We'll look at Italy too. Italy's been a little more busy today than it has been in the past. Then we've got the one that looks like it did a little work there in Poland, and then one that kind of disappeared here on us over Bulgaria. Again, kind of interesting how we get the breaks in the data. Then you got some that look like they in and out of Crete, and then over there towards Portugal, and then these other one here near Cyprus headed into, those are A400s, by the way, a French Air Force. Headed in and out of, it looks to be Bahrain and UAE. So, sorry, Qatar and UAE. Anyway, it's the French. They are in the World Cup. Maybe they're over there visiting, so who knows. But let's take a look at the refuelers. And you can see, again, kind of all over the board. Notice the same locations as the C-130 that was doing some routes there. But the difference is, instead of Southern Cal, it's over Tucson, Arizona. And that is not an H-64 gunship. That's actually just misread. There's the one over Southern California area. But yeah, just kind of misread the, you can see the picture is an air refueler. And then you got this stuff here that is still kind of perplexing. It's right over that Oklahoma Panhandle, North Texas area. And you're going to see we've got some R-135 doing work there too. And then, of course, we've got some refueling activity out over kind of the Dakotas, and then out over kind of Colorado area as well. Then some stuff over Detroit, or over Michigan, should I say. Don't see that very often. And then let's get over here to up there along the border. Again, we seem to have a lot of stuff out off the coast of the East Coast, up off the borders. And then very heavy over the middle of the United States as well. More stuff, like I said, you got it off Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, off the Gulf Coast of Florida, and then a Panhandle you kind of expect to see because you got a lot of trainers up in that area. But let's see if we can tie some of this together. Let's look over at Europe real fast for the refueling aspect of it. Like I said, very light as always, because all we're looking at are U.S. birds. So you can see we've got some stuff going on there in Luxembourg, and then this one over Italy, from the top of the boot to the bottom of the boot. Know what's going on there, but very busy for a refueler. And then you got this one here kind of out just at right now currently over Malta. But it's interesting. It's a U.S. bird, and it came out of the UK, which you would think they had something closer in terms of assets, but maybe not. All right, R-135. So we'll kick off the R-135 work here over Europe and over Middle East. You can see looking very closely at activity going on in Syria. Remember, right along that line right there are a screaming metric ton of gas wells, or oil wells, sorry. And you got this one just kind of disappeared again. Lost track. Or to say trace, but. And then, again, running right up there along that Belarus and the Russian border there as we head up into Lithuania, Latvia, etc. And then we'll get over to the U.S., and this is where it kind of starts to look interesting because Notice where we have the refueling activity going on. Tucson, again, what is going on in Tucson that we've got R-135s and their refuelers up, probably fighters up. North Texas, same thing. What is going on there that we've got R-135s up? And then check this little ditty out right here. Doing some little circle, almost man in the middle kind of spirals there. But running those shoelace routes over North Texas. Now, I do, and I will show you here in a minute, I think they're watching somebody. The reason I say that is because the FBI just dropped some folks off there in Longview, which is right below that, okay? So what are they looking at? We got some human trafficking takedown, drug stuff. I don't know, but we'll tie that in here in a minute with the R-135 and the FBI stuff. But again, North Texas, very strange. Now, some of this you expect to see like this, right over Wyoming area. You know, that's kind of a calibration run. We see that pretty regularly. But the stuff over North Texas, over, you know, the other areas just seems a little sketchy to me. So, all right, that's R-135s. Now let's take a look at the sub hunters, see what these guys are up to. Yeah, I got one rolling out of Hawaii. Looks like it was either coming or going from Tacoma, Washington. And as we kind of zoom in a little bit, clean up our screen, you can see middle of the U.S. all the way up here to Alaska, kind of broad brush all over the place. Heavy work over Florida. Notice again off of the Bahamas area, right? We do have a TFR down there in Bahamas for some operations out over the Gulf of Mexico. So that's kind of reinforcing the fact that we probably have some subs, U.S. subs in the Gulf of Mexico. Probably smart move, right? Got stuff off the East Coast. We expect that. Remember, the Trident nuclear sub program runs out of Cape Canaveral. That's Lockheed Martin. But that one there is a little further south. That's down towards Trump. So, don't know. I can tell you Trump hasn't been flying anywhere. I've been watching his aircraft, and they're on ground. He's not going anywhere. So, who knows? But let's get over to Europe real fast. You can see we do have, which is kind of interesting. We've got some additional activity. We've been watching this since Monday, kind of going on actually over the weekend out there in the North Sea. Now, I do know that the U.S. and the U.K. navies have been doing an exercise out there together, joint exercise. And then that one kind of up there in the North Norwegian Sea area. Then we get down here. You can see we had one launch and then disappear. As always, broken trace, like we've been talking about here. Okay, we're going to come back to that too, because I got another one we're going to look at from a Sub Hunter P8. All right, and then we just look like we have one that bounced out of Bahrain over here to Dubai, in that general area. So, all right, civilian intel. Now these are those ones I was looking at a minute ago. I said we got 3 of them up. LaSalle Aviation running routes over DC, over West Virginia, kind of out all over the place. And then running some stuff off of Jersey there. Now, there is a Army base that we've watched in the past where they've done very similar runs. And I'm wondering if this isn't some type of a calibration or something that they're doing over Jersey. I don't know. They may be looking at something, but, you know, you just never know, right? And then, of course, we get over here. We've got, again, this is civilian military intelligence, right? They're tied in, doing contractor work. Notice again to the north of Kaliningrad, and then you've got stuff headed all the way up here to Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, kind of in that general area, down along that border, Belarus and Ukraine, and then we're looking at additional data there outside of Moldova, and again over Constanta, right? So, all right, that's going to be those R-135s. Again, intelligence birds, reconnaissance. These people are looking at stuff very closely. And this one I'm still perplexed by. Don't really understand it. It's over Hungary. But could they be looking into, Slovenia, Croatia from there? Possibly. They definitely got the eyes to see from that altitude with that technology. So I don't know. But I do know that Croatia and the like, Serbia don't really like each other. All right. Now, these are going to be take charge and move out. This is U.S. Navy E6 TACAMOs. What this does is tell you got subs off the West Coast and subs off the East Coast because they're talking to them. right? Airborne Command Center with the IBMs, talking to the subs, probably putting out launch codes, whatever it may be, but pretty active, pretty busy off of the East Coast there, north of Virginia Beach. And that's that kind of does it. We'll look over Europe. Don't expect to see anything, but from time to time I do see them, and you just never know. All right, nothing there today. So, okay, let me make sure I covered those. TACAMO. All right, we got everything covered from that standpoint. Let's get into the weeds now as we look at this other stuff. Now, we're going to break away from Skyglass. We're going to over here to Flashbang scheduled today. And looks like he is rolling out over to the U.S. Africa Business Forum. Talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. And some multilateral meetings with leaders. Big word, big word. And let's see. And then we've got the First Lady, which is, the President and First Lady, as well as the Vice President, Second Gentleman. So basically, Flashbang and Bob Marley headed into the summit dinner this evening. Now, very interesting little thing here. We're going to look at a couple things. One, since we're talking about Flashbang, let's talk about his spending. This is basically a visualization of the amount of U.S. tax dollars flowing from Ukraine to Ukraine, in 2022. Somebody put together a really pretty little color chart. It looks like a fire hose. And the bars to the right, slowly climbing, but we're well into over 100 billion, I think, going in. Last I if you tallied everything up, right? Different categories. Red's going to be military, blue's going to be paying into their government, and yellow is going to be humanitarian stuff going in. And then of course, it'd be really nice if they showed this going into the bank accounts of our government. That's not going to happen, but that would be really interesting because what's happening. Foundations, whatever it may be, we're just laundering money through Ukraine. We already know this is an agency stronghold. They've been doing that for a long time. You can go back to the 5-Star Trust that I wrote up on the blog on my website, monkeyworksus.com. Go over to blogs, look at government corruption, and then read 5-Star Trust. Yeah, our agencies have been doing this for a very long time. It's how they fund a lot of the black programs, and they got more money than you can imagine. So, nonetheless, we've been here a while watching this go all the way to the top, but it is a pretty sickening when you think about your taxpayer dollars going into feed this corruption. So, all right. Now, another one pay attention to, as we're talking about money, global central banks are racing to implement digital currencies as cities convert to this smart infrastructure. And they say that the track and control grid being erected is right under our noses, and most people don't even know it. But here's an example for you. They just talked about this because we're talking about the African Summit. The Central Bank of Nigeria announced it will begin effective in January, restricting cash withdrawals from banks and ATMs to just $45 a day as a part of a push to move the country towards a cashless economy. Now, where else are we seeing this go on? All over the world, really. The U.S. is already talking about it, and once we go, they shall go too. No doubt about it. Yeah, this is the mark of the beast, folks. This is going to be Revelation 13:16 when you start talking about this system, this monetized system, one world government where they got eyes on everything. They're rolling it out. They've got the capability in play. They've had it for a while. We talk about it from our cell phones, and then they've been working on it for a very long time. This goes back into DARPA, Department of Defense, and all of those software or app solutions that we're loading and putting in our own hands, giving them the data. And that's how these airplanes are actually reading. They're pulling stuff right off your phones. Every transaction, every contact, every picture, you name it, it's on there. And your apps are doing it to you. Okay. And so, but yeah, everything from Facebook to Twitter to 23andMe, Ancestry.com, Google, YouTube, all of them. Just about any app that you're using today is integrating into this big system. Okay. And so, like I said, slippery slope, just one more piece of the puzzle, but close that out. Let's talk about this one here. As we talk about the economy, we're talking about the scorecard for Flashbang. Inflation rate is up 7.1% in November. That's last month from 1 year ago. Okay. So if you went back a year ago to today, inflation's up 7.1%. It's highest rating since 1982. And they will say, oh, well, look, it's coming back down. But it's kind of a soft, I will tell you, it's not coming down fast enough. You can see how quickly it shot up since his inauguration. So it'll probably do a dead cat bounce and go back up again, I would imagine, because we're looking at the data from the ports, et cetera. And as we've talked about, U.S. container imports near a pre-pandemic level in November. That's not really good if you really read between the lines. That headline sounds a lot better than it really is. Its reality is that the container imports fell a whopping 19.4% in November compared to last November. So that's a pretty big, dramatic drop. This time of year, that's unheard of. Mainly because it's the holiday season, right? People are buying for Christmas. That's why they have Black Friday. It's when everybody goes into the black and out of the red. Not this year. It's not looking good, actually. But these are the numbers. Again, in the last SITREP, I showed you that the ports had dropped off some 90% from China. 40% of manufacturing that was being procured also have dropped off. So it's all the indicators are there that our supply chain has buckled, and it's just a matter of time for it starts hitting all of us in the wallets. Okay. All right, let's get over to Bitdefender. Take a quick gander at this. Again, it looks like it's a little lighter than it has been, although we are getting hammered pretty heavily, still very one-directional from all over the world, because you know how people love us. Yeah. All right, take a look at the NOTAMs. You can see we've got orange are going to be exercises. The reds are going to be operations. And then we got some extra stuff going on here, TFR-wise, like this up here over, I guess Biden's heading home this coming weekend. And then we've got this one over DC with the summit. These are danger areas off the East Coast. Same thing out here. Now, remember, we were just looking at the TACAMO that flew out here and off the coast of San Francisco, right? The take charge, move out. So that would indicate there's a sub out here. Same thing here, right? We had them out in this general area. Again, indication of sub. Same thing here. So this looks like these are related to our submarines. That's why they're danger areas, maybe. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But if you start to kind of look at the data as it comes together, it sure is compelling, isn't it? All right. This is going to be a MIL-OP up here, probably tied to the U.S. UK sub stuff that we were just looking at with the navies. And then looks like they're pretty busy off the coast of France. And Italy's very active. This is very active as always. A lot of this stuff here is because they don't want people running into their border. A lot of this is set up so kind of a prevent. Okay. All right, let's move on. Take another look here at this one. Kind of tying back to the fact that remember we were just saying that Flashbang's meeting with the African summit here in DC. Check this out. It says the leaders open the summit with warnings of Russia destabilizing the continent. That is kind of a misnomer here. The reality is Russia isn't the ones that are destabilizing the continent. So let's go back. If you may remember, we just printed this on December 3rd. Weapons delivered to Ukraine beginning to filter into Africa, and this is in Nigeria. They had Lake Chad Basin where they found a whole bunch of weapons. What's happening is the stuff that the United States is feeding into Ukraine is making its way to Africa. That's the reality. Russia's not destabilizing anything. It's us. It's the stuff that we're sending in because we have zero accountability. It's getting in the hands of people that are wanting to make money. And of course, they're turning around and selling it off the black market because we don't have the ability to monitor what's going on. We just keep throwing stuff at it. We don't really care about that aspect of it. What we really care about is the laundering going into the bank accounts. That's what they care about. All right. Okay. So let's look at this one here. This is the U.S. is going to send Ukraine Patriot missiles in a major escalation. This is not good. This is probably going to kick things off, I would imagine, because check this out. This is what Russia has to say back. Kremlin vows to take out those Patriot batteries if the U.S. sends them to Ukraine. So it looks like this could be our first little skirmish coming up if that happens as we lock these in. Pretty crazy when you think about it. We knew something would start this eventually. This could be it. So let's eyes on it. And then another one here just to pay attention to. Putin readies a nuke capable of hitting the UK and the United States in a new threat to the West. That was just posted today. Now, this is a picture of one that had launched before. This is, kind of what they do. They actually say that they have satellite footage of the silos being loaded. So, all right. Just gets better by the day, doesn't it? Let's take a look over here. Now, this is one that I was trying to track, and there it is again. This is the Navy P-8 Poseidon. Again, notice it has rolled out of here. There's Malta here, but this is kind of a launch area that we fly in and out of. I will show you that it kind of went out over Constanta, a little north of Constanta. Remember, this is an area that was pretty hot and heavy just to the north of there. So I don't know what they're looking at in the port of Constanta, but they got eyes on something, and they're headed back. Now, the interesting thing is when you go down here to the hex code associated with this aircraft, it is right here, AE6811. It's not in the database. Remember the same one that took out the pipeline? Not in the database. So we apparently have quite a few U.S. Navy assets that aren't in the database. You key in that hex code, and it comes up nada. So I've loaded it to my database, but it still is not showing because it flies NA. So now that I've got it in there, we can probably find it if we needed to. But little nuggets you find from time to time that kind of tell the story downstream, don't they? All right. Let's get over here to Biggs Army Airfield. Remember, I was saying in the last SITREP the fact that we have kind of plateaued. I'm not seeing the troop movement that we were seeing before. So remember, our numbers, we were trying to get to a goal of 100,000 troops by NATO. That's including U.S. troops, which is probably the lion's share of those into Europe. And it looks like we're there. Which would indicate that we've got everything in play. Lord, that took forever, didn't it? But really not seeing anything on the board that would. You can see normally we get the arrivals in here, and you see all the heavies coming inbound. I got one Eastern Airlines outbound to El Paso, so I don't know what that is. That may be immigration. And then you've got one coming inbound from Denver. That's Sun Country. So we'll see, but remember, that's a 737-800. So there's no telling. Now, this one that's leaving to El Paso, and then we've got this one coming in from Denver. Now, remember, this is just kind of spitballing again, but remember, we were watching about 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half ago. We were watching these smaller aircraft that went and scattered all over the United States. No rhyme or reason behind it. And, I thought maybe it's contractors or maybe they're moving people in. Who knows what's going on, right? But we got eyes on it. We're watching it around the same time that these heat rig, which is the concealed carry vest that hold 8 mags, AR, AK magazines, that they went on hold because the U.S. had some kind of a emergency buy. And so I don't know. We're just putting it all together. Again, it's a data point for you. But this one coming in, let's go over here and see where this one Eastern Airlines came in from. Indianapolis. It looks like it came in from Indy. And then we've got this one that was on Friday. So this came in on Monday from Indy. Now, the question then is, if it's not troops, are we moving? Maybe we put some troops over here in El Paso. Possibly. Let's see what happens to this one, the Sun Country, where it goes from here. If it moves somebody, interior to the U.S. I don't know. Like I said, we'll keep our eye on it. Again, this is pretty, dormant compared to what we've seen in the past. All right, this is going to be Topeka. This is the other location that we were launching stuff across the drink, both directions. Looks like we got some priority air transports coming in from Virginia and nothing else. I mean, it's very, very quiet. Remember, this is also commercial stuff coming inbound. And then from that, it's going that priority air transport's headed over to Colorado Springs. But I don't see anything on the board here that would indicate troop stuff other than that's a military right there, but that's it. All right. Very quiet. Very quiet. This is Ramstein. Now, we do have a couple camber flights that popped in coming in from Baltimore and Dover, but I didn't see anything connecting them within the United States. So maybe they came straight out of this. Maybe it was a couple of days ago. I don't know. We do have a spar coming in. That's usually going to be some type of dignitary, brass, whatever it may be, coming inbound. And then it's, of course, going to Brussels. That's going to probably be headed to NATO, right? So they come into Stuttgart, head over to Brussels to NATO. Then these camber flights departing. That one looks to be headed to England, but this one is no location, right? And then this one here is just kind of near a location. Don't know where that is. So, all right, Poland. Again, Poland has been very, very quiet. I don't see any cambers. At least I didn't last look. This is all commercial flights. We get over here to the outbound, same thing, commercial flights. Don't see anything catches my eye. Same thing on the schedule board side of the house. So again, Poland's quiet. I've just got a couple sprinkling of flights going in and out of Ramstein, but that's it, really. One Atlas Air here. This is in Guam. This is in the Pacific side of the house, inbound from Hawaii. And then don't see it on the board yet, not even on scheduled. So it looks like it's just landed and it's being unloaded. And then we got a Navy logistics bird that was inbound, leaving to, actually looks like it's just doing some touch and goes there. So in and out. All right. Now this is Camp Justice. Again, another departure headed back to Singapore. I don't know what this is. We've been watching it. It's almost every single day. So almost every single day, but it's not. That's the thing that throws you off. Normally when you see this, and I will tell you from living at a remote location in my past out in Kwajalein, you had a tempo that would come in certain days, and those were supplies coming from Hawaii. They still do it today. And they're bringing in food, basically, because you don't have the ability to grow anything on these islands. And so they bring it in, and if that plane doesn't show up, the shelves go empty, right? And so, but I just find it hard to believe they've got this many assets in there unless there's some Navy boats in that we don't see, where they're having to fly in, supply stuff this frequently from Singapore. It's possible. But don't forget, too, this is a prison location. And so, I don't know. We'll see we'll just continue to watch it, see how long it stays. Okay. All right. Camber flights. Now looking a little busy over here. We got one coming out of Cairo, one coming out of Al Manhad Air Base, Dover, the one out of England, and then one out of Ramstein. So it's 5. Those are troop movers headed in and out of the Middle East, it looks like, for the most part. And except for one that was coming out of Dover. And then Omni, got 2 flights up. Got one Colorado Springs to Washington, which would indicate maybe we got some Air Force boys rolling out to Dulles. And then that one may go across the drink. And then we got this one coming in from Hawaii into Riverside, California. All right. And here's going to be your Brits. Very light, really only 3 of them. One coming out of Bordeaux, France, Albuquerque, New Mexico, probably either foreign military sales or they were supporting an operation there. And then this one here is still kind of over the general area, their general area. So Ruskies, well, I had one that was coming out of St. Petersburg, and we got this one here, RSD 233, and I don't really know that location. Let me just get I can't even pronounce. I'm going to attempt to pronounce that location, but it's en route. Probably, if I had to guess, probably headed up to Moscow from there, more than likely. All right. Okay, let's talk Gestapo for a second, because this is where this kind of dovetails into the stuff we were talking about at the very beginning with the activity. This one actually looks like it left Knoxville, Tennessee, back to Washington. So let's backtrack, and we're going to take a look at where this was. Remember the other day I said, wow, kind of strange in Chicago. Then it went back to the Brown Zone, left the Brown Zone, went to Longview, Texas, which is interesting because that is right over the area where we're looking at the R-135 that was flying those routes, the 3-tiered routes, right? Go back over here to R-135. And if we, let me just kind of speed up and get us over to the U.S. And right here, as we kind of got into that, right? That's over that same area, over Longview, kind of over Tyler, Longview, kind of over right along that Louisiana border, all the way up across the Texas border. So that is very unusual. Don't see that very often, right? So you've got that. And then we've got the FBI right there in the same general area. So they working together, gathering something on somebody. Maybe. Probably not a coincidence. Then from there, it looked like it went out to Ardmore, Oklahoma, which would be almost the top end of where they were looking in that section, right? With the 3-tier back and forth between Texas, kind of Oklahoma, all the way to that Louisiana border. Then they went from there to Knoxville, Tennessee, and then back. Now, just note, they have not gone back down to southern Florida, just south of Trump. And Trump has not been flying. I've been watching his flights, and he hasn't left Mar-a-Lago. He's been there so for quite some time. All right, since before his announcement. So, okay, this is going to be your Swift Airs, kind of the immigrant machine, as you can see. Look to be everything border related, except for that one right there, which is coming down to San Antonio from Cleveland. Don't know what that ties into. Could be hockey. Could be immigrant related. All right. And then this one, just want to point this out. This is actually our sniffer. We had it up the other day as well. This one looked to have flown over to Cumberland, Maryland, and back. It doesn't look like it has really doing anything. If you look at the flight altitude level and speed, looks like he was just pretty much wide open most of the time, except for when he did a little climb out there. Lost a little bit of speed on his climb out. But other than that, not really. I don't know. Joint base to Morgantown, West Virginia, and then now over to this side. So been active, been moving around, but don't know what for. All right. Last one up is going to be the C-101. It's going to be your Secretary of Homeland Security. They changed birds on us. Remember, it was C-202. This one went in for maintenance. This is out of maintenance, but looks like it was up in Saginaw, Michigan. Remember, you got this going on. All right, that was Monday, and then of course we also have the air refuelers that were up over Michigan. I said that was kind of strange to see them in that general area flying around. So I don't know, maybe tied together, maybe not. Something happening up here, that's for sure. And then we lost track of him out here near Hatteras as he breached the East Coast out into the open water, just north of the Bermuda Triangle. No, I'm just kidding. But nonetheless, it looks like we disappeared here. Not really on the trajectory which you would normally see for banking in and going into Guantanamo Bay. More than likely he's headed out here to Puerto Rico, if I had to guess. So, all right. Well, listen, that right there is going to do it. I know I ran a little long today, 39 minutes versus I try to keep it to a half an hour. And it is what it is. But kind of a strange thing. So we look like we do have a lull relative to troops headed over across the drink, which would indicate we are at the numbers that we were pushing to get to, which was 100,000 troops in Europe. Total NATO number, not total U.S. number, although I'm sure we're, again, big brunt of that, okay? But then we've got a lot of fighter activity all the way up the coast, East Coast, West Coast, along our northern border, which is interesting. And then we seem to have a lot of surveillance going on in Oklahoma, North Texas area, as well as down over Tucson. We seem to have a lot of activity happening down there towards the Arizona border. So don't know what's happening, but we'll keep our eye on it, see if anything changes. And again, we'll watch Biggs to see if we get any more of those small birds moving assets across the United States, because they have not come back. So, all right, listen, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of the day. We'll see you on Friday with our Friday Live. So you guys be safe out there. Keep that powder dry and stay frosty. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworxus.com.